What is going down, faithful? We are back for another State of the Franchise episode, and this time we get to prey on the Dallas Cowboys downfall. I can't wait. We're going to get some spicy takes. He's trying to tell me he's not going to be spicy today. I don't agree. We're going to pull it out of him. And if you want to see some spicy Aponte, drop some spicy emojis in the chat because we're going to get after it right now. That's Jason Aponte. I'm Brad Graham. We're going to get into it all right now. Let's go. We got Spicy Aponte and Sourdough Brad in the building. What's good, my guy? I know you're feeling good after that game this weekend.
I mean, we all are. A little bit disappointed because I thought it would be a little bit more competitive. I thought this was supposed to be the test, but nonetheless, we run the slander up, and it's funny because people talk about being gracious winners, and I have no interest in being that at all, like in any way. Especially because I didn't play. I get to pop whatever it is that I want. Like, I would love for the 49ers to be gracious winners, right? Like, and make sure that they do things, the right way. But I don't have to do any of that, and I won't. I refuse.
Exactly. I've got some comments on my Instagram page being like, listen, guys, stay humble. We've got 12 more games. Womp-de-whoop-de-womp. Like, dude, we don't play. This is what we do.
Fans get to talk.
Down. Yeah, we're up and down with every single move. However, I do appreciate the fans that believe I have the power to control 49ers outcomes by jinxing them, by doing this, by doing that. Hey, appreciate you putting the power into my hands. But
they'll sure as hell blame you too if Cleveland doesn't go right.
But I mean, it's been a phenomenal 2.5 days since the victory because there's so much that has happened after the game. So I don't know. Maybe we do this. Maybe we back into the game because I do want to talk about it. I want to talk about some of the performances from both offensive and defensive players and all that type of stuff. But obviously right now, the hot topic amongst the 49ers is good old Micah Parsons. So I want to again give you your credit on this show because it was like 3 weeks ago, Micah Parsons is doing his podcast and he just lays down the flowers at Brock Purdy's feet about how good of a quarterback he is. And you're like, that's gamesmanship. And I'm like, you know what? You might be right. And then we heard all of Dallas talking leading up until that game. And you're like, oh, yeah, Jerry Jones calling all the Super Bowls going through San Francisco. Like, we saw Dak Prescott get PTSD triggered. Like, we saw a bunch of different things. And I was like, oh, yeah, the gamesmanship is real. Well, now that the game's over and we've got George Kittle flashing the F Dallas shirt, Micah Parsons, he's crying now. I don't know if he's going to laugh later. Well, what do you think about that whole situation with him right now?
I love how the 49ers eliminated the Cowboys in back-to-back postseasons, and this game was absolutely circled all offseason for them. And now you're mad. You weren't mad going into this game. You didn't really want to win this game. Now you're mad. Now it's gone too far. Now the 49ers have gone too far, and they've beaten you a third time and embarrassed you on national television. Now this is too far. You should have been mad going into this game. I know if there was a team that eliminated my team, I would be all in and focused. So this one, you didn't care? But now you care because George Kittle turned into Gary Plummer and channeled his inner Gary Plummer with a shirt that he's going to get fined for. No fun league indeed. And now that's too far. That's way too far. Eliminating you in the wild card game, that's not too far. Eliminating you in the divisional game, not too far. Now, because George Kittle wore that shirt after you got blown out by 32 points, now it's, we got something for that. Well, why didn't you have something for that on Sunday? That's the funniest thing about this. It's now you're mad. Oh no. Well, if we see them again. Well, I got some news. I've been looking at the Dallas Cowboys schedule. Chargers, I believe they get Philly and someone else. There's a nice little stretch right here. And then weeks 13 through 17. Seattle, Philly, Buffalo, Miami in 4 straight weeks. The last 2 on the road. Don't worry about if you see us again. Worry about trying to make the playoffs, because I don't know. That effort leaves me to believe that you're nowhere near the team that you thought you were. And it's so easy to look good when you face Daniel Jones, Mac Jones, and Zach Wilson. Look at what happens now. But now you're mad. Now, Michael Parsons, I'm mad now. I'm upset. Look out now. We're upset. No. You should have just been upset about the game. Forget the shirt.
Yeah, it really does feel like Micah Parsons more upset about the shirt than being more upset than having 0 sacks, 0 quarterback hits, and really not having any type of impact in a game that features Colton McKivitz as a guy he was going up against a bunch of times. So, but that's not a shot at Colton McKivitz. That's actually a hat tip to Colton McKivitz. Colton had a really good game for the most part. The whole offensive line had a really good game. I mean, this team is cooking right now. And, hey, Micah Parsons doing a lot of crying. It's fine. It is what it is. That's what happens when you have a in-season podcast. It's one of the pitfalls is that if you let your true emotions show, we are going to pick it up and we're going to run with it. So, hey, it's new media. I love it, but you got to be prepared for what's going to come if you're going to talk during the season.
Let's put that aside. I feel his post-game comments were far more concerning than what he said on his podcast.
Yes. What did he say, Jason?
So he said, the score isn't indicative of how far apart we are. It is. We're the same playoff caliber team. You're not. We have the same type of talent. You don't. We're going to fix some things. You can't. All of those things, I understand trying to be confident, but they come off just more delusional. Like, again, like, you didn't prepare. Like, you guys, like, had an idea of what you thought you wanted to do in this game, and that just unraveled so fast. Like, I've never seen a team fold in a game that big, even if it is just a regular season week 5 game like the Dallas Cowboys did. And then you listen to Dak Prescott, and you listen to Dak Prescott say, this is the most humbling game I've ever been a part of. He clearly doesn't feel like they're close, and as close as that. We're the same playoff caliber team. You're not. We have the same amount of talent. You don't. There's maybe 3 Dallas Cowboys on this team that would start over other 49ers. Maybe like 3, 4. Few on the line, probably. You know? But you don't. You just don't. And it's just, I don't understand the comments. It's way easier to just say, we had a game plan. It came apart. They played a great game. Hats off to them. We've got to regroup. What is so hard about saying that instead of saying, we are this close, and you're not. The score discrepancy is how far apart you are and how far apart you were on Sunday. And the 49ers still could have played a better game too. So like the whole idea of like, oh, we won't play so bad again. Yeah. Well, the 49ers could play better too. And why is it never that? It's always we can just play better, but they can't play better. That wasn't a perfect game. Come on.
No,
so, yeah, Michael Parsons, those post-game comments are way worse than anything you say on your podcast, bud.
Yeah, no, I actually agree with that 100%. Because I understand having a belief in yourself and your team, but when you go out and get embarrassed like that on primetime television by one of your biggest rivals historically.
It's not a rivalry until you win a game, though. It's a one-sided beef. It's a one-sided beef right now. You beefing with yourself. You know how when people say, oh, we beefing? Nah, you just hate me. I don't even care about you.
100%. That's kind of what it's like. That's kind of what the energy was heading into the game, right? Because of the way they were talking about it. 49ers were just like, yeah, it's another day on the schedule. And, you know, I've heard you say, like, this is like their Super Bowl, right? Like, this was they needed to prove to themselves who they were. This was let's stand in front of the mirror. You are good enough. You are a Super Bowl team. And that's what they were saying all week. And I think that's why Micah Parsons said it after the game as well, because
Right.
he's reciting the lines he'd been saying all week, but he just got humbled. And they, you are what was it? Herm Edwards that said you are what your record is, or
Mm-hmm.
well, you are what you put on tape. And what they put on tape was a team that was nowhere near the caliber of team that the San Francisco 49ers were. It's just that's it. That's facts. Tape doesn't lie, right?
Brad, Michael Parsons and the Cowboys are that meme of the guy pointing in the mirror. We are them boys. This is our year.
We are them boys.
We are them boys. I'm not crying. You're crying. No, my thing is also, it's like, again, the desperation of like, oh, we need to stop this from continuing, right? And it's just like, you didn't play like a team like that. You just seem that far apart. And it's like Mike Tyson says, everybody has a plan until they're punched in the mouth. And by the end of that game, they were limping off the field. Bland's in the locker room. Vander Esch is injured. Like, guys are just dropping like flies. And like, looking at the tape, I think a lot of what I noticed is the Cowboys don't have separators on the outside, and their game is predicated now on no shots down the field. Everything is quick game stuff. Everything is quick game concepts with Dak, right? CD's in the slot. Yeah, CD's in the slot, but the 49ers did a great job of starting with a slot corner, but then bracketing him with Tashawn Gibson. And then they said, you know what, Brandon Cooks, Michael Gallup, we'll see. We'll take our chances. They really don't have guys that can separate and take shot plays. That's why when you look at their like explosive play rate, it's not high, because that's not how they're running their offense. Is that a function because of the offense not being able to get separation on the outside? Is Dak Prescott regressing? Maybe yes and yes. Both of those things are true. I also like to believe, if you want something spicy, that the 49ers have kind of kicked off the Dak Prescott is out of Dallas era, right? Like, it's almost like starting this now, because now you're looking at him and you're just like, again, you didn't play well. Again, you threw 3 interceptions. Like, it's almost like he said, it's like he heard somebody on the sideline say, you can't throw 2 more interceptions. And he's like, oh, yeah? Watch this. He's like,
dude, that's what the last pick looked like.
Right.
To Oren Burks. He
Right.
had double slants, and he just, like a robot, was like, meh, meh, and Oren just read his eyes and just picked it up. I was just like, dude, he's not even trying anymore.
Right.
Like, he just
hey,
straight
Dak,
up,
you can't throw 3 picks. I'll show you.
I'll show you, pesky kids. Watch this. No, it was bad. I mean, obviously they had I would say it was a good play call, good design, and they got the look that they wanted on the shot to Turpin, where they scored their only touchdown on the day. And that was a disadvantage. You had, Turpin's extremely fast, and he got one-on-one matchup with Isaiah Oliver. But going through the tape, like, I'm feeling better and better about the secondary than I feel like when watching in person. And this is the way I described it. It's like they're completing these little underneath passes, and I'm like, dang, it feels like we're getting dinked and dunked to death. But then when you kind of go back in the tape, you're like, well, that was only like 3-yard reception. No, that was a 5-yard reception. And then they get a 3 and out. You're like, actually, it's kind of like run plays almost, right? They keep everything in front of them. I thought they did a better job of mixing up more man, more press, more bump and run, opposed to just playing off the whole time. So I liked that mix. It feels like that's what we need. We need the mix of man, press, bump and run, because Charvarius Ward and Diamador Lenore are great man press corners. They can both do it. And like, you think of the Diamador deflection to interception of Fred Warner, he was in phase. He ran the route better than the wide receiver, stuck his hand across. So when looking at the secondary, I feel like they're looking better. And again, when I was watching them against Arizona, it felt more scheme like oriented when they were having issues than personnel issues. And I think Isaiah Oliver's done a pretty decent job along with the other 2 cornerbacks. What did you see? I know you're really good at diagnosing coverages and breakdowns like that. So what did you see from the secondary?
Yeah, and remember last week I ran down the numbers of how much the 49ers had kind of played cover 1, cover 3, had really been much more of a majority of a zone team.
Right.
But that's the genius of kind of what you put on tape, because the Dallas Cowboys are looking at that as saying, well, they're gonna run zone, then we're gonna be able to put some zone beaters in there. And then Steve Wilkes pulls the rug out from under you and says, no, 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 we're running man this game. And we're doing something that's completely different than the 4 weeks, right? And that's kind of like what I've been trying to preach as far as patience with Steve Wilkes is personnel is going to dictate what you can play. But also, I think Kyle Shanahan and him have the same kind of brain when it comes to what I want to put on tape, because I want to hit you with something either you think is coming or something out of the same formation, the same look, because you think you're smart and you've been watching the tape, and I'm kind of just laying the breadcrumbs to get you to bite. And when I see that you're going to bite, I'm going to change it all up. It's a
Like
little bit of that.
that Cam Newton clip where it's like, oh, you've been
Right.
watching tape,
Yeah.
watch this.
He's like, all right, watch this. Right, exactly. So he's like, it's that wheel route. It's that wheel route. It's like, okay, like
Yeah.
you have staple plays that you put on there that really can't change anything up, and you might change run action. Like some of the throws that I saw that were made in this game, I know we're getting away from secondary, were off of run action. Like it was really cool to see, like you're pulling one way, so everybody's biting on the run, and it opens up a window for you, like on a throw, like to Ayuk. So it's really interesting to know the chess match, right? Was Steve Wilkes kind of playing possum for 4 weeks to set this up for the 5th week? Or did he really look at the tape and say, well, Cooks isn't separating the way that he used to. Gallup isn't the guy that used to be as fast. And with CeeDee, we can have Isaiah Oliver, but we have guys that we're going to pass him off to just in case. We're going to bracket him. And now Dak Prescott's got to beat you with tight window throws in good coverage. All of those things matter. So when you jump out the window and you say something about like, oh, well, I hate the coverage, I hate this, I hate that, some of it is just mind games setting things up for other personnel and other games. And I feel like Steve Wilkes really, really was in his bag this week, because he was like, okay, you think you've got a grasp on what we're doing? We're switching it up. And I can show you that we can do both against certain personnel. So I was very impressed with Steve Wilkes in the secondary as well. Shout out to Diamador Lenore. I think he gave up 2 catches on 4 targets. That's a great thing as well too. But the one play to Isaiah Oliver, I think that was just a great matchup. Finally, the Cowboys did something that was a little bit forward thinking. When you have someone that is that fast and is going in motion, as a guy who isn't fast, and you know that in your bones as you are Isaiah Oliver, you start to try to guess what it is, right? So you think down in distance, you think, okay, 3rd and 4, he's probably going to run something short. But by the time he's
going to run an in-breaking route,
right.
So he changed his leverage.
Right. Or he's just trying to not get beat. And then by the time he gets that running start and he starts to get by you, that's it. Credit to Dak Prescott. That was a great ball that he threw in there. But that was the only time I saw anything that was really creative. Everything else felt very vanilla. I'm not sure. I think what we overlooked with the Dallas Cowboys was the fact that Kellen Moore is not there anymore, because their identity on offense is completely lost right now. And I don't know who they are.
They couldn't get anything going with Pollard. And so as a result, they were just trying to do like quick game, stuff like that. And again, I love the adjustments that they made. Like you had that one pass deflection from Charvarius Ward, like 40 yards downfield, where he's in the hip pocket. And that's why, like, when I watch the tape of the defense, and again, I'm not a defensive guy, so I'm just trying to see things and be like, this is how my brain rationalizes it. When I see him playing so much soft coverage, it just feels like they're giving them those shots. Now, again, I think we talked about the rationale. They're not trying to get beat deep, right? It's a high to low concept. So what I liked is the adjustment, and you talked about that, really well, about just how they changed everything. And I think that made it really hard for Dak Prescott to kind of understand in real time, because he wasn't in rhythm. The whole offense wasn't in rhythm, but it's really hard to be in rhythm when you have Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw going insane. I'm not going to lie, Jason, I've been really impressed with those two throughout. Again, like I said, these last 2 weeks, I'm such an offensive elitist that like there are times when I just don't watch the defensive tape.
Mm-hmm.
So the last 2 weeks I've watched the defensive tape, and I'm like, this is why I need to watch the defensive tape. Like, these guys are balling right now. Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, what are you seeing out of these two studs?
The best duo in the league. And, I think if you needed any indication that game was not going to be going Dallas's way is how on earth did Fred Warner punch that ball out and it didn't go out of bounds or touch
I
anybody who was
know.
out of bounds? It's
It
just
hit Lenore's leg. It rolled on its nose, so it stayed out of the end zone. That was crazy.
forced fumble, interception, and a sack from the linebacker. The sack was super impressive because he's dropped into coverage and he stays in the passing lane, and then he attacks and he finishes the sack, man. And then the interception is just, I mean, what else can you say about Fred Warner? I think the discussion should change from, I think they're clearly the best duo in the league, but we have to start talking about now like Fred Warner, Patrick Willis, NaVorro Bowman. Where is he in the linebacker hierarchy for the 49ers? And is he starting to creep to the top of that list, especially considering how young he is and how much more football he has left to play? Truly blessed, man. I think, being able to have 52, 53, 54 jerseys, you're good to go. Those are all-time players and those are all-time linebackers. So Fred's carrying on that tradition right now, man. It's incredible to see Defensive Player of the Week. We run out of hyperbole and ways to talk about him and describe him. I think some weeks we just kind of we'll look in the box score and we'll say 10, 12 tackles, damn, but then there's these games like this, national television, where it's just like he's doing it all. He's doing it in a big game and he's dominating the Cowboys. And then we always have that picture of him like pointing at Dak as well too. And it's just like guy shows up to play the Dallas Cowboys. Shout out to Fred Warner, man. We're really blessed with great linebacker play and such a great player.
Yeah, I mean, it's been something that we've been saying for a while now, but Fred Warner is your prototypical middle linebacker for the new era of football, because when we compare Bowman and Willis to, like, let's say Dre and Fred, they're different play styles, right? Because what Bowman and Willis were now, but Willis could play in any era. I don't think there's any issue with that.
No, absolutely not.
But they were definitely perfect for that era of run first football and power, like, just tons of power, running downhill, filling gaps, doing all that type of stuff. They were perfect for it. Whereas Dre and Fred, they have similar skill sets, but they're perfect for this new era of a passing league. Like both of them being able to spy mobile quarterbacks and hunt them down and get sacks. Both Dre and Fred got sacks. Both were spying the quarterback essentially, and they're so fast that Dak couldn't even get beyond the line of scrimmage. And Dak is a good runner. He's a pretty good runner. And so right now, Dre Greenlaw, Fred Warner, man, I'm so impressed with those two. Obviously, we've known how good Fred is for a long time. We call him All-Pro Fred for a reason. He is the best linebacker in the NFL, and he's heading into that category of being best linebacker of the decade. Like he's, how Willis is in that conversation for the 2000s. Like he's going to be the 2010, whatever. He's going to be in that category. Dre, though, is creeping up there. Because when I'm watching these two guys play together, they have a little bit different play styles, but they're both equally like all over the place. Mm-hmm. So if I'm looking at this and I'm looking at Fred Warner, I'm like, yeah, you're for sure the best linebacker in the NFL. And then I'm watching Dre chase down dudes, get sacks. He's all over the place. I'm like, well, damn, you're not far behind. Like, I'm not going to be shocked at all if we hear at the end of the year, All-Pro Fred and All-Pro Dre. I think, I don't know. You said it at the beginning, best tandem in football. It's not just the best tandem. It's not like Fred's carrying Dre. Like Dre is also playing extremely well.
Yeah, and week after week, we always find ways to be wowed by them, even though we kind of expected and we've kind of set our watch to it. It almost gets boring. With how well they play, and it's just week after week. So yeah, there's not too many complaints coming out of this game at this point. I think the 49ers didn't play a perfect game, but that's probably as close as you could get to it. I think that's kind of what Kyle Shanahan said in the post-game press conference too. So just a little disappointed. I thought this was going to be like a game where the 49ers were tested a little bit, and we can still perpetuate the argument that the 49ers haven't played anybody really good yet. The thing is this,
or No, you go ahead. Finish your thought.
No. I think the Cleveland Browns, this next one, the Cleveland Browns defense is who Dallas thinks they are. That's who they think they are. That's who everybody thought they were. But that's who Cleveland's offense is. So I'm super interested, regardless of whether Watson plays or not. I'm super interested to see how this defense goes up against this offense, because I think Cleveland is much better defensively. They've got better corners, and Myles Garrett is a stud as well too. So this is another good test for Cole McKivitz and the boys. So Cleveland's defense is who Dallas thinks they are.
JOK is phenomenal linebacker.
Yep. Newsome
playing good ball.
Yep, Newsome and Ward. They probably are the top two, like the top two, the tandem right there at corner. Like they have an incredible defense, man. I am so excited to see this game.
Maurice Hurst balling out on the interior, a guy that was a former 49er for the last legend. 2 years, but was hurt the whole time, unfortunately for him. But he had talent. We could see it in training camp. It just was unfortunate that he wasn't able to actually get out on the field and do it, but he's doing it with the Cleveland Browns. So I agree that's going to be a big matchup. But also to the kind of the previous point, it's like we did think that this was going to be a bit of a measuring stick game for both teams. It was going to be like a gut check for the San Francisco 49ers. Like, are we really that good? And it was like, oh, not only are we that good, we might be a tier above everyone else in the league right now.
What this game proved is that Dallas isn't better than Detroit, Seattle. You've been knocked down from the hierarchy. You're not in the discussion you're not in the discussion with the Philadelphia Eagles and the San Francisco 49ers right now. Like you're not better than Detroit. You're not better than Seattle. And guess what? You're gonna have to play Seattle as well too. So this one is such a gut punch for them, because not only did they not answer the bell, but they got their bell rung and they got knocked all the way down to like 5th in the NFC, like in terms of like teams that you would be worried about. I'm far more worried about Detroit, far more worried about Seattle at this point than them, just because of we kind of know the tried and trusted formula. Dak expected to see a bunch of zone. When he doesn't see what he thought he was going to see, that's it. The game plan's ruined. He forgets how to play football. When guys are getting hit and hit and hit, they can't take it and they can't continue, man. They're not physical. You can out physical the Patriots. You can out physical the Giants and the Jets. What you are not ready for this test right now. And I don't know if there's anybody but Philly who's actually ready to, go up against a team as physical as this team.
I think Dallas got stunned by Arizona, and I think that put them on notice of like, whoa, wait a second. Mm-hmm. And then that's why this was such a big game for them, because they needed to prove to themselves. The fan base needed that, gratification that, okay, we're not a crappy team that just loses to Arizona. That was just a fluke. This I think basically confirmed the priors that like, no, they might be frauds. Like a fraud alert, sound the alarm, because Dallas doesn't look like they got it. They could take care of teams that aren't that great. Like, weeks 1 through 4, they only gave up 41 points. But guess what? Through 3 quarters, they gave up 42 against the San Francisco 49ers. So the Niners are just playing leaps and bounds right now above everyone else. 49ers throwback says Dallas did not want McCaffrey to beat them, and they accomplished that goal. They forced Brock Purdy to beat them, and he did. 4 touchdowns. Trent owns Parsons. That's a good transition into the offense. And what do you think about Throwback's thoughts that he shared with us?
Yeah, it was clear that they wanted to stop the run. I mean, I think McCaffrey averaged, I think it was like 2.7 per carry, but Jordan Mason had a nice 69-yard game.
JP.
And that's 6.9 per carry. So, like, while everybody is looking at, hey, look what they did with Christian McCaffrey, they still can have the ball run on them. I mean, at the end of the game, like when the 49ers are trying to run out the clock, you still are getting punched in the mouth. It's as obvious as ever that, like, when they're in clock killing mode and they're just like, they took out all their starters, they're just going to run the ball, and you still are just not being able to stop it. So, sure, they didn't want to be embarrassed by McCaffrey because he had been lighting everybody else up. It would have been much worse in this game if he doesn't fumble at the 2. And the 49ers have 42, and they took all their starters out basically in the 4th quarter. So, like, when Micah Parsons says, we got something for that, Debo says, you don't want to see us again because it could be worse. If Kyle Shanahan was as petty as he wanted to be, that could have been run up pretty far. And it could have been really bad. Yeah. And it could have been really bad. That could have been like 60 points. Like they could have ran it up on them because they had given up. They were broken and they took it easy, right? So I hate
Yep.
the idea of like, well, next time we got something for that. Do you? I don't know what it is that you're going to have for that. So if you want to lock in on McCaffrey, fine. Purdy's going to find a way to get it done, man. He just looks as confident as ever, man. Shout out to George Kittle, 3 tugs on 3 catches. That is efficient, especially if you're a fantasy football player. And the weapons are just evident, man. It's all over the place. You cut off your nose to spite your face when you game plan to just stop one person with the 49ers. And as long as the quarterback's able to get through reads and make throws like that, it's putting Kyle Shanahan in a position where he's just like, I can call whatever I want, man. Even flea flickers that I saw earlier on in the day or whatever. So it's a great feeling. The offense, again, I think is still ahead of the defense, and that's a feeling that we haven't known for a long time. And like I keep waiting for, people are just like, well, can Brock play from behind? Well, explain to me the scenario where the 49ers are going to be behind when they're playing this well. I mean, what team is going to go up 17 points on the 49ers, 10 points, 15 points on them when their defense is cracking down like that and their offense is scoring? They've scored on every first drive of every game so far. Usually I think the biggest discrepancy in what we used to see in this offense and what we're seeing with Brock Purdy is the first drive, while scripted, still felt like Kyle was gathering information to set up the haymakers later on. Now it's not like that anymore. It doesn't feel like he's gathering information. He's just like, hey, we're going to get the ball. We're going to go down and we're going to score. And I got ways to get into the end zone. And it starts with the quarterback, man. This offense is so fun to watch. I pulled up all the numbers because Miami and San Francisco are 1 and 2 in almost a few categories that are very important, right? And I want to go through them because everybody was just thinking that I was comparing 1 to 1. I'm like, no, they're 1 and 2. Like that's literally, these are just the objective numbers. And when you think about Miami putting up 70, right? When you look at this number, let me pull it up. Yards per play is Miami 8.31 per play, 49ers 6.33. Passing yards per play, 9.76 for Miami, 8.99 for the 49ers. Points per game, 36.2, 49ers 33.4. The 49ers have been a more consistent offense over 4 games, right? You take that 170-point game out, and that drastically drops that points per game number for Miami. And then first downs per game are the same at 24.8. So, I mean, while everybody's like enamored with the glitz and glamour of the Miami Dolphins offense, I could make the argument that the San Francisco's 49ers offense has been more consistent across the board through 5 weeks than they have, because they have a game where they only scored 20. Then they have a spike game of like 70. Like that's all well and good. But when you're 30, 30, 30, 30, and 40, that implies to me that offense is as consistent as it gets. And that's kind of my point.
It's so fun watching Kyle Shanahan dial up plays for Brock in this offense because, like you alluded to, and again, it's just a natural comparison. I'm never trying to take shots at Jimmy, but the offense just runs completely different with Brock Purdy at the helm. Kyle's calling whatever he wants. He knows Brock Purdy's going to take care of the football, not put it in harm's way, and deliver it on time and where it should be. And guess what? If it's not on time and where it should be, he's going to step up, step out of the pocket, and he's still going to find an open wide receiver like he did with George Kittle on the first touchdown and just lay it in there like they're playing catch in the backyard. Like that's what's so impressive about those two, is that Kyle's obviously going to dial it up, but Brock Purdy has the ability to take it a step further. And that was the thing that we didn't have in this offense. If 1 or 2 wasn't open, hold your breath. We have no idea what's going to happen next. Is it going to be an interception? Is it going to be a sack? Is it going to be a safety? So, pick 8 or whatever.
So Brad, I got Sprint Right Option done on Monday early because I wanted to go watch Jimmy Garoppolo play football at a bar. And I went. And I'm watching it, and I'm like, I would love to sit with a Raiders fan and watch them go through, like, he throws that head-scratching interception, and I'm just sitting there, I'm like, oh, I know that one. I've seen that before. Yeah. And it's just like, my God, man, like, it was night and day difference, man, with this offense and how it used to be. Not to disrespect Jimmy, man. We miss you and everything, but damn, man. I was watching that game, and I'm like, and then it's so funny. It was such a Jimmy game. He throws those interceptions, and he scored just enough, and he gets the win. And my God, yep. Jimmy's a winner. Like, it was just like literally.
And all the players are like, yeah, Jim, let's go. It's like we've seen the playbook before.
It's like literally, like, I saw like the helicopters, like I was that like Chihuahua looking like in that meme. Like I just was like, I'm so traumatized by those types of games that they don't need to be like that at all. But he gets the win, and then everybody's like, oh, he's a winner. And I'm just like, my God, man, like where have I seen
He
this before?
gutted
I
us
don't want
through it. He brought us
yeah.
back.
Hey, Jimmy's a baller, man. That's all they're saying at the end of the game, too. And I'm just like, I'm sitting there like the helicopters are going across my eyes, and I'm just like, my God, man, we don't have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah, no, Jimmy. Again, we're not taking shots at Jimmy. It's just a
Nah, it's
natural.
just an observation.
It's a natural comparison.
Yeah.
Because listen, there were some stressful games with Jimmy Garoppolo at the helm, and it just feels so different. You know, George Kittle talked about it. He said Brock Purdy is a lethal killer in the huddle. Like he's a different mindset, different mentality. God, man, like we're so lucky that with all the stuff that had happened with Jimmy getting hurt, Trey getting hurt, and somehow finding out that Brock Purdy could be the guy, and he's proving to be the guy to the point where we are now talking about Brock Purdy as an MVP frontrunner potentially, or at least in the conversation. That is insane to me. It is absolutely insane that just a year ago, the entire NFL passed on Brock Purdy in the draft, including the San Francisco 49ers multiple times, and they just happened to snatch him with the last pick. Fast forward one season, he's a captain, he's 5-0, and he is in the MVP conversation. That is wild. Like, when does this happen? When have we ever seen this happen? Like, we've seen undrafted guys, have great years and do great things, and we've seen tons of, but it doesn't happen with the quarterback position all that often, right?
Kurt
Like
Warner. That's it. That's
Kurt
all I can
Warner, of
think of. Kurt
course,
Warner. Yeah. When are they going to make the Brock
but
Purdy movie? Because that Kurt Warner movie was terrible.
you already know. You already know that their Netflix is salivating right now. They're already trying to write the script. And
Who do
honestly,
we
the
cast?
NFL is
Who do we
probably.
cast as Brock Purdy?
Ooh, who would be a good Brock Purdy? I
Ask the
mean, you
chat.
would know. You
No.
are.
I've been thinking. I kind of was thinking like, who could it be? Like, I think it could be like somebody's season, like maybe like Jake Gyllenhaal or something. Like,
It has to be someone super like wholesome, like
right, or just a
that
great
can.
actor, like to be able to convey Brock's like Brock turns like Brock is when you hear him talking, he's very humble, but then when you see him on the field, it's like that switch
He's out
changes
here
to
like,
like a
ice in the
he like
veins, like
yeah, he's like a
flexing,
killer,
like
man.
he's
He's like a killer. He's reserved, and then when
Michael
it's time to
Cera.
go, yeah, Michael Cera. Oh no, because that's a Patrick posted that. Patrick posted that Diesel
Did he?
Michael Cera. Yeah, and he was like, I can't believe this guy's cooking the league.
Man, I mean, there's someone out there that could absolutely play it, but that's the type of season he's having. He's having a storybook type of run, and you still got people trying to cut his legs out for his performance and what he's doing, and people are just waiting for the other shoe to drop. And once that shoe drops, they're going to be, see, I told you so. I told you, Brock Purdy's not that good. But right now, the way he's operating the offense, the way he fits in with the locker room, the fact that this team looks at him like a leader, and he's in year 2 and he has full command of the locker room, that's special, man. That's so hard to do, especially a locker room that was already galvanized by Jimmy Garoppolo. And then you have Trey Lance, and you're Mr. Irrelevant. And now all of a sudden you're the leader, like everyone, you're the unquestioned leader, like, of this locker room. Obviously, you've got Fred, who's the main vocal leader, right? But the quarterback is always going to be that top dog. Like, it's just how it is. And he's doing it. It's pretty crazy.
Brad, he's making $12 after taxes being the quarterback, like with what they're paying.
Bro's got 14 roommates. They're splitting DoorDash. Like, it's rough out here, man.
Bro is eating Chef Boyardee in the crib and in the top 5.
Top ramen.
Yeah,
just
all
peanut butter sandwiches. Can't even afford the jelly.
He gets his check. He gets his check, and he's just looking at it, and it says like $12.94 after taxes.
Oh, dude, it's such a good story, man.
Yeah.
Like, it really is. Let's see what Brian says, pretty crazy how consistent the league is. Cardinals beat the Cowboys by 12. We beat the Cards by 19. Comes out to 31. We beat the Cowboys by 32. Hey, Cards
Math
are
is
good,
hard.
man.
Math is hard. Yo, the Cardinals, man, you know what? Again, give them their respect, man. I think they're building something that's really good, man. So whether they
I
get
really
Caleb,
like Dobbs.
yeah, he's a great story as well too. It's just that he's not doing what Brock's doing, so nobody's talking about it. But I think a lot of people forget Joshua Dobbs is a rocket scientist, like a legit rocket scientist. Yeah. So he's very smart and everything. And I think we all just remember him playing one game last year against the Titans and just kind of dismissing him because he never got a chance to play. But
Even
he's
played
a very
pretty
good story.
well.
He's a very good story, man. They're pretty cool to watch.
And just not to go on a crazy tangent, but lo and behold, NFC West pretty talented, huh?
And I mean, the 49ers are rolling everybody, but look at Seattle, they're 3-1. And it's like you can't slip up and lose games because Seattle's looking pretty good. I think we all kind of laughed at them in week 1, but kind of what I thought was going to happen is starting to happen a little bit. Like when they drafted Witherspoon, I was like, oh God, no. Like, oh no, like that's not good, man. Like, not that you can't beat them or anything like that, but that's huge value for them, man. And the way Geno's playing, like they're gonna have slip ups and lose games, but the 49ers can't afford to slip up. Like if they lost on Sunday, they would be 4-1 and Seattle would be 3-1. So I mean 5-0 and 3-1 is good. You've got like a little like 1.5 game lead. I think that's how you like put it together. But yeah, man, or like whatever, 2.5, whatever it is. But yeah, like Seattle's not going anywhere, and you've got to keep stacking wins. Like you can't like have slip ups. You can't let them like gain momentum and start feeling themselves. But Seattle's pretty good, man. They're pretty good so far. Even though they were off this week, so they didn't lose either.
It's going to be good for the 49ers because they can't look over their shoulder in division and be like, we're going to sleepwalk to the top. I mean, they are right now, but Seattle, Rams, and Cards have proven to be more competitive than I think I believed. I didn't think the Cardinals would be competitive. I thought they were going to be the worst team in the NFL.
Me too.
I thought the Rams were going to be right there behind them. I thought Stafford was cooked. I didn't think they were going to be able to do it. And hey, they're competitive, man. And of course, Seattle has built a pretty good roster in their little retool era, and so they're going to be competitive as well. So hey, I'll take it. It's going to keep the 49ers looking forward and not trying to sleepwalk through anything. And they're going to have to treat every game and as a must win, honestly. Like this one coming up against Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
They got to win this one.
This one's the test for the offense because this is the defense, like I said, that Dallas thinks they are. But I think it's good that Seattle believes in themselves because it's going to make it sweeter on Thanksgiving.
I wish that game wasn't on Thanksgiving. I can't stand these holiday games. I was actually talking about it with my family earlier today. It was like Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's Day or New Year's Eve.
New Year's Day. New Year's Eve, I think, actually. Yeah.
I was like, come on, guys. Like, I get it. It's great for the NFL, but it's like, sucks for me.
As a Hispanic male, the Christmas thing doesn't bother me as much because Christmas Day is like we just rest and we just sleep because we go hard for Noche Buena the day before. Christmas Eve's our day. Yeah, Christmas Eve is the Super Bowl. The next day is just everybody's just like laid out because they went too hard with too much coquito. Yeah, leftovers and just sitting.
Hair of the dog, starting
100%. Yeah, got to wake up and crack a beer in the morning just so you can function and see straight. Yeah, like that's and anybody who's watching this knows that like Hispanics, it's game time on Noche Buena, which is Christmas Eve, man. So
yeah, but anyways, like the 49ers right now, obviously Cleveland's coming up. Like you said, this is going to be a great test for the 49ers offense. We'll see, what's going on with Deshaun. Deshaun didn't practice today. PJ Walker. That's what it feels like. It feels like they're already prepared for PJ Walker to be the starter, which I believe 49ers played PJ Walker before when he was with the Panthers. Or was that Baker? No, Baker played when he was with the Panthers.
Baker played the last time, and the time before that they dropped 50, it was Kyle Allen.
Yeah, that's right.
Remember Gerald McCoy wanted all the smoke?
Yep. I like PJ Walker. I've always liked his story coming from the XFL, and I think he's decent. I don't think he's going to be like a Dobbs type story or
That
anything like
DTR
that.
thing ended pretty quickly.
Dude, how crazy was that? Like,
But this is why you don't get carried away in preseason.
right?
And then you
Just
know
like
who?
everyone got carried away that the 49ers are going to be trash in preseason because their
And
backups got motorboated by the freaking Raiders.
the Browns got rid of Dobbs.
Yeah.
The Browns cut Dobbs for DTR. Dobbs goes to Arizona. Look at him now. And
Yep.
now you're going to play PJ Walker. You can't go crazy with preseason stuff, man. Like that stuff it's taken with a grain of salt. And then you throw
Or
the young
training
man out
camp,
there.
perhaps.
You know what's sad? I think he found out 3 hours before the game that he was gonna start against the Ravens. Like he found
Who's
out
that?
3 hours DTR.
Oh.
And then he found out, I think, through the media that PJ Walker was gonna start. So that's gotta be a terrible feeling for the young man.
Yeah. I mean, typical Browns behavior. But we'll see. Obviously, the thing that I'm looking at, obviously, it's a away game and it's a 10 a.m. start. So we'll see how that affects them. We'll see if there's any type of residual effects of the travel and it being an early start time for them. So we'll see how that all pans out. But obviously, if there's no Deshaun Watson, who isn't playing that well this year to begin with, and they have no Nick Chubb, obviously we know they signed Hunt.
Sucks.
Ford's playing pretty decently. I thought Ford's pretty good. They got Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, Donovan Peoples-Jones, and Joku.
Yeah.
They have weapons. It's just it hasn't come to fruition with anything.
No.
I don't think their offense has proven to be anything of note. So the way that I look at this matchup is that they're going to have a really hard time scoring points. And if their defense can't hold the 49ers keep them out of the end zone, it could turn into like a Dallas situation pretty quickly. But there is a world that does exist where you get that defensive line for the Browns getting after the 49ers and then keeping them out of the end zone. And just, we've seen it in the past where the 49ers will have a lead, but the other team's just like hanging around, then boom, one momentum swinging play changes the entire complexion of the game. All of a sudden they're back in it. So it's going to be really interesting to see what kind of game we get against the Cleveland Browns.
This is going to be the 49ers' first test against a very good defense because I really, truly believe the Cleveland Browns are a very good defense. At all.
Are they the number one rated defense in the NFL?
In almost everything. I think they've given up some stupid amount of first downs. It's something like 24 or something like that through their games. Like, that is absurd. And I think that was going into the Ravens game, actually. But yeah, this is going to be the 49ers' first real test against a top flight defense. And this is what you cut your teeth on, right? Like, East Coast game, the 49ers have been pretty good with that. The 49ers go and they stay in Ohio in Youngstown. And then they go, which is pretty close to Cleveland. So, Kyle Shanahan's been really good with that, with the East Coast thing. So I'm not necessarily worried about that as much. I do think the 49ers win this game, especially if Deshaun Watson doesn't play. I mean, even if he did, I still would pick the 49ers. But I'm very interested to see how this defensive unit goes up against this offense because they do have the players to at least slow them down a little bit. But if that offense is not staying on the field and it's not controlling the ball and they're just going 3 and out, and you keep that defense on the field and you get them tired, Kyle's going to finish you off, man. The biggest thing that I want to see in this game is, I think I saw like some crazy stat, but I don't think Kyle Shanahan has ever faced Jim Schwartz and beat him. And Jim Schwartz is their DC. So I think that's a very interesting thing as well, too, because Jim Schwartz maybe does some things that gives him a little bit of fits. And again, like, we thought Dan Quinn would be able to come with a good game plan as well, too. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But, the 49ers are just rolling right now. So I'm really intrigued with this matchup. I think the 49ers are going to win, but I cannot wait to watch how this offensive line tries to slow down this pass rush and how they work in this matchup. That's the most intriguing part. And then Kyle against Jim is something that I'm really looking at as well.
I was really impressed with the 49ers offensive line against the Dallas Cowboys. Again, they continue to improve each week, and that's a really good sign moving forward. I mean, Colton McKivitz had multiple good reps on Micah Parsons. Trent had good reps on Micah Parsons. Um, Colton absolutely obliterated DeMarcus Lawrence on a down block on
That's crazy.
Christian McCaffrey's touchdown. Um, the run game, the gap scheme is working really well. Um, even when, just like Brian says, can we please keep giving Mason more carries? I feel like Mason's a really good inside zone runner, like
Mhm.
because he's so good at being able to decipher like where the defense is coming from, and he makes really good cuts in a really short area. Obviously, CMC is really good at that as well. That's why he's elite. But so is Jordan Mason. And I think if you have this kind of duality of CMC and JP, and you start to be able to actually integrate these two guys together, and it becomes you're always going to have the number one punch is going to be CMC. But if you can have the number two punch kind of mix in a little bit more organically throughout drives, that could wear out defenses as well, because JP's a really tough runner. You give CMC a little break on the sideline, let him go off for a play. You run a little inside zone with JP. He grinds out 9 yards, and then all of a sudden you're in a better situation to still have CMC now back on the field and use him out of the backfield, use him as a runner, do all these different types of things. So I'm really excited that Jordan Mason's getting some run. Unfortunate for Elijah Mitchell. He missed another day of practice today. JP's running away with it. I think we're officially at a spot that when Elijah Mitchell is healthy, and unfortunately for Elijah Mitchell, he is not going to be that RB2 anymore. It's going to be Jordan Mason.
Whatever, man. I don't know. I have nothing to say, man. Getting hurt in practice now. And he's missed, what is it, 22 games and played in 18. It's just it's not what you want. It's not what you need at this point. And going back to a little bit about what you were talking about with CMC and Mason, one of the things that I'm kind of noticing too is that the CMC effect goes much farther, and we've talked about this, like goes much farther than just his effect with the ball in his hands. He's forcing defenses to have to man up against these weapons, and that just plays right into what Kyle wants to do. Like, do you have man corners that are going to be able to stick with Debo on certain routes, or stick with Ayuk on certain routes, or just like his presence alone changes the way defenses have to attack on the back end against the 49ers. And even him just being on the field is such a change, and it's something that is so impactful. Now, I understand, because the injury thing is what everybody's worried about, because you just see him touching the ball. But don't get it twisted that even when he's on the field and he's not getting the ball, his impact is felt, because defenses have to account for him. And it's opening things up for everybody else as well too. So it's Kyle Shanahan's in a bind where it's like, yes, I don't want to run you into the ground, but yes, you give me all these advantageous looks that I like to attack offensively with my guys and with Brock Purdy, and they're having so much success with that as well too. It's got to be a bit of a give and take. But I could understand as a play caller when things are going right and you're just like, man, every time McCaffrey's out there, we're getting the look that we want and we're attacking it and we're hitting it. It's like it's hard to talk him off of having him on the field. So I think that's the part that I think is a little bit harder. It's not just Kyle saying, hey, I just want to have him on the field and give him the ball all the time. It's just that air, that gravity that he occupies on the field, and how it makes everybody else adjust to the other weapons. I think it's tough to get him off the field when your offense is explosive as it is with him on the field.
Do you think that gravity led to George Kittle having 3 touchdowns on 3 receptions? Yep. Kyle Juszczyk getting a touchdown as well. Did you think they're just so keyed in on CMC that they were obviously mixed in with Kyle's scheme and what he was running? They were able to just find so many opportunities for Kittle.
Dallas came out and they said, we don't want Christian McCaffrey to beat us. Okay, cool. Well, that's fine. You're still so worried about it that it's opening things up for everybody else, and there's always going to be somebody's going to be open. And that's really what it is. It's like, okay, Dallas, you succeeded in the one thing you really wanted to do. Now, your problem is you can't stop everybody else either. So cut off one arm, 2 others grow. Like it's too hard to stop everybody, especially like even if McCaffrey isn't having an effective day running the ball. And I don't suspect there's going to be too many more days where he's 2.7 a carry. it's just his presence alone that opens things up for everybody else. And it's like Kyle's just like having fun, having a blast in the candy store, just like picking whatever he wants.
Do we have
Yes, he
another?
got it. He got it. He got
We
it.
have another one.
Ryan, thank you for getting it. Have you ever seen Wayne's World?
Yeah, but it's been a long time.
Okay, that's what he's talking about. That's what it was made. So Kyle made the one for my channel, and it's a scene in that movie where they're like, "We're in Texas," like yeehaw. And he goes, and then we're going to New York, and then he goes, "We're in
Do you have
Delaware."
it? Can you throw it on
I,
the screen?
I have the thumbnail, but I don't have the scene. I'm trying to give you the reference. So the reference is like he's like, "Hey, so we're in Delaware." He's like, "Wow, we're in Delaware." Like that was it. So like that's what it is. It's like, "Hi, we're in Cleveland." So he superimposed your face over Garth and me over Wayne. I'm gonna pull it up right now. I got you. It's
All
so
right.
good. Kyle is and Kyle's just like, I
Hey,
was hoping you get the reference.
Last week
Huh?
was fire. So
Last week was the best one. The best one,
that was
honestly.
hilarious.
Hold on. It's not this one, I don't think. Nah. Come on. That's not it. Give me a sec. But keep going. I'll find it. But that's so good that he got it. I'm so happy.
While you're getting that up, DJ, member for 15 months. Damn, that's crazy.
Yes, sir.
That's wild that it says that too. I like that it says that. Lets us know how long you guys have been a member to the channel, and we appreciate all the support. He says we have so many offensive weapons that. Do you have a SDS logo? Am I seeing that properly?
He does. Yes, he does.
Okay. I just peeped the SDS profile. Caught me off guard.
All right, I got it. I got the thumbnail up.
All right, I'll pull it up right after this. We have so many offensive weapons that the other team is shell-shocked on who to cover and what to do. Smash that like button. Hey, he's not wrong.
He's not wrong. That's exactly what we were talking about. It's like take away one, doesn't matter. There's three more there. That's really what it's about, and you can't stop it all. The only way this team's offense is stopped is if they're making mistakes and they're turning the ball over. Like, and that just hasn't happened through 5 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we got it. I could see it in the little picture. Let's get it in all its glory. Oh my!
That's it. So you see, because they're like, we're in Delaware, and he's like, "Hi, we're in Delaware." Like that's it. So
hey, I look good as a blonde. I also need to get a little mullet cut going too. Hair already.
Yo, shout out to Kyle. And also, man, I've been to Cleveland. Cleveland ain't that bad. I went for the draft. That was the first draft I ever covered. That was the Trey Lance draft, the pick at 3. But yeah, man, that's exactly what that is. Shout out to anybody who's ever seen Wayne's World. Shout out to Kyle B, man. He surprises me because that's right up my alley with my old ass.
No, this is hilarious. This is phenomenal. Yeah. Plus, I got the shades on too, so it just fits perfectly. The mullet, dude, got me thinking about going blonde, cutting a mullet. That's fire.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Shout out Kyle for making that thumbnail. That's funny, man.
Yeah.
So I challenge Kyle. How long can we keep this going with the thumbnail? Because so far, 2 for 2 have been 10 out of 10. So Kyle, you're on notice. You got you've set the bar now. Yep. I want to see it continue to go because those are hilarious.
My God, Kyle Breckwitz is too funny, man. He's done so other ones like Don't Wake Shanny instead of Don't Wake Danny. Like a bunch of them. Like it's just so good. I get the references. You know, they're so good.
Have we talked about Randy Gregory together?
Aha, Randy Gregory. Welly, Brad Graham. There's times when we say things and we get things wrong. But there's times when we say things and we get things right. Quite literally last Wednesday, I was describing how Randy Gregory is a perfect fit as a rotational guy. He won't cost anything. Well, veteran minimum and trade later. Here comes Randy Gregory, bud. And if you want to take it a step further, he was totally brought here to give away the defenses, the Dallas defense, since he's a former defender, since we're still running with that, right? Like Trey Lance was going to give everybody the offense. So it's a big brain move to bring in Randy Gregory so they can figure out what the Dallas defense is running over there, man. But hey, look at us. Great call, Brad. Great call, Jay. Pat on the back. But yeah, it's a great thing.
It's a great thing. Into the franchise, right?
Yep. And I think the real analysis is nothing against Dre Jackson, but after the first week, it's kind of just been a little bit of a lull. But Randy Gregory in a situational role can be that speed rusher that they've been looking for this entire time, that they wanted Drake to be. And I think that's what the analysis is. He doesn't have to play every single snap. You can still rotate your guys, but in obvious passing downs, and you need that speed rushing element, like what they've been chasing since they let D Ford go when his career ended. That's what they've been chasing, and I think this is a cheap way to do it. Veteran minimum, they don't got to pay anything. Obviously, his contract tolls next year, but this clearly is a rental. The 49ers saw an opportunity to improve their pass rush with not only just a player who is still effective, but someone with the skill set that they've been looking for this entire time to duplicate that 2019 rush. I'm super excited to see Randy Gregory. Do we make the joke about his jersey number now or later?
Go ahead and make it now.
Okay, number 5 is going to be on the field. God damn it doesn't even feel right.
only took 3 years.
I mean, it happened, guys. Oh, God, that doesn't even feel right. I'm sorry. I apologize. I take that back.
Too
God,
soon.
That didn't
Too
even
soon.
feel right. Yeah, way too soon.
But to be honest, again, like we've talked about it on our channels, but we've never had it. We actually haven't talked about it together. So to me, based on, like I said, I'm getting back into the defensive film, and based on what I've seen the last 2 weeks from both the offense and defense, if I had to pinpoint the weakest point on this roster right now, I would say the weakest point is the pass rush opposite of Nick Bosa. That to me is the weakest point. It's not the cornerbacks. It's not Isaiah Oliver. It's not the safeties. It's not Burford and McKivitz. It's the pass rush on the opposite side of Nick Bosa. It was glaring to me watching the tape now 2 weeks in a row from that. So when they made that move, it's a great move because what is Gregory? He's a pass rush specialist. Like now, obviously, I got to watch him against Il Manning against the Denver Broncos, and he didn't look that great. Benito definitely looked better than he did in that particular game. So, but the move that what it took to get him was they got him for basically free. It was basically priority. Make sure he's not going anywhere else. We get him, and we spend literally nothing, veteran minimum, because the Broncos are taking his entire contract on, and it's a pick swap where the Broncos are picking probably number 1 or number 2, and the 49ers are probably picking 31 or 32. So it's literally they gave up nothing to get him, and it fills arguably the biggest need that they have right now on a pretty stacked roster.
Right.
And this gives them flexibility, Jason, dare I say, in any potential future trades for defensive ends that I will not name because you know who I'm talking about. But it changes the leverage of the conversation. And especially if he starts balling or at least contributing, if we get some contributions from Gregory, and let's say a team is like they're trading a guy, and you still could add him, I would say it changes the bargaining power just a little bit more. But if Gregory balls, they might not need to make any type of drastic trade. Then that's the best case scenario. Best case scenario is they get Gregory for nothing, he balls, and they don't need to make any move at the deadline. And that would be the biggest brain move of the front office, is to not trade for someone like Brian Burns because Gregory worked out. And even though I would love it from a cost analysis perspective, Brian Burns is going to still cost a lot. Gregory costs nothing. And if he could give a fraction more of what they're getting right now, that could be enough to change the tides of the defensive line. So we'll see.
And Chris Kosarik, he gets people paid. I mean, I just wrote an article today on Niners Nation about, what moves people would like to see. Obviously, people would like offensive line. I think Denver came out today and said that it's a tear down, but the one player that they are not moving off of is Patrick Surtain.
Yeah,
but
no Surtain.
So no Surtain. But Garrett Bowles is a left tackle, right? Who has voiced his displeasure, and my hesitance is, okay, what's the cost? And then can you flip him to right tackle? Like, would you be able to flip him to right tackle? And then why would you do that if Colton McKivitz is improving? I think as we go along and we go back and we look at what it took to get Emmanuel Sanders and how much that was huge for the wide receiver room with the 49ers in 2019. I think the Omenihu deal is the one that you really look at that's kind of similar to this, except the fact that Omenihu was someone who had talent but didn't have the production, and Randy Gregory has put up more than him. But it's the same idea, right? Is you get Omenihu in here, you let Kosarik get his hands on him, and then boom, even with a 6-game suspension or whatever it is, Kansas City signs him. You get Arden Key in here and you try to figure something out. Boom. He's like one of the most double-teamed pass rushers in the league right now in Jacksonville, over there with Josh Allen. So I think all of it makes sense. Low risk, high reward. And if you look at the way he should be used, I think he's past the time where he's on every down. But in obvious passing downs, I think that's where he'll thrive. And we've noticed that there's been guys like Javon Kinlaw who situationally are put on the field, and now you see production, but they may not be an every down player, which is okay. And especially given like what he can give as pass rush, he doesn't have to be a guy that's got to be in there to stop the run. Just go get the quarterback. Just go that way, like D Ford used to say.
And honestly, Cleveland has been really good in the run game. Like that's where he's always been good, and that's where he's always been. That's what he was coming out of Clemson. He was never a plus pass rusher. Like
shout out to Mike Mayock.
He was always a good run defender and edge setter and things like that. But he doesn't have that gear to get around the edge. So with Gregory, you can still, and we know that you just talked about it. They're gonna shift guys all over the place. They're gonna rotate. Drake is a good looper. They can still utilize these guys in a bunch of different ways, and this could be this. We'll see. Is this the move that's going to take the defensive line to a new level? We're going to find out. It could. It might not. He might be a little washed. Who knows? We're going to find out. Maybe a new environment energizes him. Being with this defensive line energizes him, and we see a different player. So we're going to find out. But
and real quick, shout out to Kerry Hyder. I kind of was hoping that we could sneak him back on the practice squad, but yeah. D'Amico, you're getting the band back together. You bring him back. Yeah. You bring Jason Verrett back. All right, man. You sneaky.
Yeah. Kerry Hyder to the Texans practice squad with Jimmy Ward, and there's one more.
Jason Verrett.
Oh, that's right. That was today, right?
Yeah.
I was half asleep when I made that post. So, yeah, man. I'm excited, though. The San Francisco 49ers are in good shape. We're getting some video out right now. First sights of Randy Gregory in that number 5. Man, he's got some good, like he's a long defensive end. He's got some long arms.
Oh, just go get the quarterback. He's speed rusher. Like he's
got all we need.
He just got to be that speed rusher guy that opposite Nick Bosa, man. He doesn't have to be somebody who's on the field all the time, but obvious passing downs, third downs, get him out there. The same way you use D Ford. The same way you use D Ford is, obviously he may not have the impact because I think people forget how good D Ford was in 2019, but that's the same idea. That's the same exact idea with Randy Gregory. And for the veteran minimum, it doesn't hurt to take a peek.
No, it does not. So this might be a phenomenal piece. We're gonna find out. Might be just another guy, but hey, that's what getting out there on Sundays is all about. Anything else you wanted to touch on before we wrapped up today?
No, I think again, guys. I think this is going to now be the end of my Cowboy slander run. It's been a good run. If you guys have been reading on Niners Nation, I wrote one really, really good Micah Parsons article where I was just free to let my personality run wild. I cooked. It was good. The memes were great. It's been fun. But now let's turn to Cleveland. This was the 1 week I didn't want to turn the page. Oh, yeah. Pull it up. Oh, yeah. No, not Devin A-Chain. Come on, man. Just when he was starting to cook, now he gets on IR. Dude, one of my teams, I had Justin Jefferson and Achan. I had to put both of them in my IR position, and I started playing taps, and I took my flag and I started like bringing it down. I'm just like, dude.
I
And
have
then
Justin Jefferson in like 4 or 5 leagues.
and
That was
what's the
kind of
worst? You know what's the worst? Justin Jefferson is not going to play against the 49ers. He's my favorite receiver to watch, and I get to watch him in a game that I have to intently watch, and he's not going to play, man. Like, it just, damn it, man. Oh, my God, this sucks. All right, let's pull this up. Brad, you're not going to like these thoughts about
shocking. Was my team not any good? I have no idea. We're about to find out.
I'm gonna find it right now. Yes, I'm gonna pull it up again, guys. Underdog Fantasy, you can do higher and lower wagers. You can use promo code APONTE APONTE to double your first deposit. Shout out to everybody who's been enjoying it. We posted pics of the higher and lowers that we like, and yeah. Obviously, Matt wants to see it because he's in first place. He had another 146 point game. He's up at 677.94. He's currently the leader for the second straight week. Josh Allen, Brock Purdy, Breece Hall, there is no more snap count. Breece Hall is back to being unleashed, and he went crazy. Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson. It sounds like now that Achan's not there, it's going to be one of those two guys, unless our good buddy Salvan Ahmed steals a little bit something before.
What do you think about him? I've had my eye on Salvan for a couple months.
If he's on your dynasty waivers, definitely he's a speculative ad and pick him up. Like I think anybody right now until Jeff Wilson is
worth it.
Yeah, I think anybody right now until Jeff Wilson is fully cleared off of IR is worth it in that offense. And Salvan was playing well before he got hurt. Like he was the one holding off Achan. He was the one holding off Achan. So I don't have a problem with it. Like if you have an extra bench spot, it doesn't hurt to throw him on the end of your bench and just see what happens, because a few things can happen. Raheem can get hurt, or maybe they just have one of those weird games where Ahmed has maybe 10 carries, but he has a long run and scores a touchdown, and they decide to give him more, and maybe Jeff Wilson doesn't come back. You want to get your hands on explosive offenses, so you try to do this as much as you can and pick up one of those guys. So, and then obviously DJ Moore won the week for him this week. That's not cool, man. Like watching one of my favorite guys in the world go off like that for somebody else. You know what's worse? I had Justin Fields and DJ Moore. No, I had Justin Fields in a league, and in a dynasty league that I rebuilt, in which I had Anthony Richardson, I had Achan, both of them on the IR now. I drafted Addison. I completely smashed my rebuild. And then I'm like, oh yeah, 42 points. And I look over and I'm facing DJ Moore and Logan Thomas. And I'm like, the week's over. I was like, I lost. I was like, oh my God, man. I was like, what the hell just happened? This one is Justin, Lamar Jackson, Jared Goff. Jared Goff's hooping. Christian McCaffrey, pretty good. Josh Jacobs coming along. Kyron Williams, Chris Godwin and Evans, and Adam Thielen, man. I think that's still his best value pick of this draft, man. Like, I think everybody just kind of slept on him, and he's just getting targeted like crazy. I'm still in third. Daniel Jones, Kirk Cousins. It's been Kirk that's been kind of carrying me. Achan was carrying me, but now I lost him. I lost Dobbins. Madison's losing his grip on his backfield. Stevenson's in a terrible offense. Gus is he's a plotter. He doesn't really do much in the pass game. CeeDee's not doing what I thought he would, but I'm getting Keenan Allen back. I just need more big games. I need another Keenan Allen 80-point game. And Brad, I don't want to rub it in, but I'm going down to yours.
I'm going all the way down to what place am I in?
97. Well, you're in 10th. You're in 10th out of 12.
Out of 12.
But you got 97 points this week. You had Justin Fields this week. That was great.
And no one else.
Eckler on a bye. Derek didn't really do anything. Debo did okay for you. And then Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman just hate catching the football. So that's got to be tough, man. Van Jefferson's over in Atlanta, so maybe that helps. But now he's with your guy Drake London, and then Njoku and Musgrave. Yeah, Brad, it's a bit of a rough go for you, bud. But hey.
Yeah, we knew this from the jump, though. This isn't new. So,
but hey, if you guys want to do daily drafts, best ball drafts like that as well too, higher and lower wagers, just go to Underdog Fantasy. Use the promo code APONTE to double your first deposit up to $100, I believe, and it is legal for you to use in California as well too. So yeah, just go crazy with it. It's fun way to put some skin in the game and win some money. I've seen some people put up $5, walk away with $250. It's not a bad idea. You just got to hit on all 5 of your picks.
I'm just gonna blame this draft on Nick Bosa. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna chalk it up because that was
that day
we had signed Nick Bosa.
You
so
just kept looking up, and you were like, "Wait, I've got 5 seconds left."
Yeah, I was not paying attention. And it bit me in the ass.
The man's trying to run a stream and put out posts and draft at the same time. Like maybe next year we'll make sure that like it's a day where
we'll figure it out, and I'll know the actual structure of the league as well and how it works. I'm like, oh wait, we can't pick up players. Okay, I'm screwed.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah. I'm screwed too, man. I would have. Yeah, I'm in such a bad way in some dynasty leagues that I had to pick up that kid that I never heard of from before that stepped in for James Conner in Arizona. I'm down bad, that bad, where I'm just like, where in a league where I lost like Chubb and I had Eckler and he's hurt, like I'm just like, oh my God, like I'm really going through it. I need to like reach and like blow my fab on this dude. Like I never heard of him until before. I thought Keontae Ingram would have been the guy.
Well, I saw Keontae was listed as the starter on their depth chart, but who knows if that means anything. He didn't definitely look like the starters and when he got hurt. But Chuba Hubbard, I'm low key watching his situation.
Miles Sanders didn't practice today, guys.
Didn't practice, and he was already taking over the snap share. So I'm like, hopefully that can, because I want 0 RB.
If he's on your waivers,
I want
go get
0
him.
RB in my startup league, or no, not startup, redraft league. And so like my running backs are Isaiah Pacheco and Tajee Spears right now.
Hey, he's taking it too, man. If Tajee Spears is on your waivers as all too, man, like he's actually running routes, and that's important. That's way more valuable in a PPR league than you think, especially.
Yeah, and they're not just using Henry as an every down back, like they are giving him a quality snap share. So I mean, it's working for me. I'm 4-1 in this league, in second, tied for first place. So 0 RB is working.
Look at you. I always want to go 0 RB, and then I start looking at like that dead zone of like those running backs, and I want to puke. And I'm just like, I can't have these guys on my team.
Dude, I went 0 RB, and the RBs I was targeting got poached right before me, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is backfiring in my face. But I was able to get Justin Jefferson, Chris Olave, DJ Moore, and so like I'm stacked at wide receiver.
That's the idea.
And I went early, like I went against everything. I went quarterback early. I got Josh Allen. So it was like I just went opposite of what everyone was doing. Yeah. And it's working so far. We'll see how long it lasts.
100%.
So we'll see. But looking forward to this upcoming game against the Cleveland Browns. We're getting our first looks at Randy Gregory. So people are posting those on Twitter and all that good stuff. Excited to see what we get. DJ says, Brad, make sure you check your email. I sent full logo to you. Smash that like button for sure. We'll be checking that out. Did I miss another one? I feel like I might have missed.
They're all starred. They're all starred.
Thank you. So thank you for. I think this is the one I missed from Dabbing Hyena. Member for 3 months. Let's go. I don't want it to happen, but with his constant injuries, do you think they will trade Elijah Mitchell?
What do you get for him at this point? I think at this point,
I think there has to be a buyer, right? For that to happen.
I think at this point, you got to ride it out, because if you are worried about his injury, like this is the one where you don't really like give people away, right? Like if there was someone else like behind, like the idea of trading Jeff Wilson last year is because you had Elijah Mitchell, right? And it's like the thing about the TDP, right. The Mason thing is I think people are forgetting. I think Kyle really values him on special teams because he's so good on special teams, and you can't take away one of your better special teams players when the only thing that you can really say is like a negative about this team right now is like special teams coverage on like punts and kickoffs and stuff like that. So it's hard to like balance all that. I wouldn't want to be a head coach. I understand the sentiment. You guys want to, keep CMC fresh and everything, but Kyle likes him where he's at and what he contributes. And while the special teams is probably the only thing that's like behind everything else, it's hard to get a contributor like that away from there in the name of unless it's like an emergency.
Yeah, and I think the only way you're trading Elijah Mitchell is if you get a great pick in return for him, like a 4th rounder, 5th rounder.
You'd be lucky to get a 6th now.
I don't know if a 5th rounder would do it. If the 49ers would pull the trigger on that. because he was drafted in the 6th, so they would want to get better value out of it. So I don't know. I think the injury makes the trade possibilities kind of go out the window.
You kind of just got to ride it out now. You kind of just got to ride it out
It loses his value and it loses his market at the same time. Like it's a double negative.
Right now through 5 weeks, we're good. Like we're good. Like in terms of like injuries, right? Like there's nothing really like going on, right? Knock on wood. And it's like you kind of have to brace for the inevitability of like the war of attrition. Like very rarely does teams have like injury luck like this, and they've got to continue it going. So I don't know, like if you can afford that right now because TDP is not that good. The Jordan Mason thing is really, really, a give and take with his special teams contributions. And then, if Elijah Mitchell can just maybe give you 6-7 games, then you can really lighten the load for Christian McCaffrey, especially in games that you don't really need him. Ooh, Jason, Gibbs and Tank Dell for Thielen. Oh, yes. And send it now because, one, Monty's not going anywhere. 2, Gibbs is out again with the hamstring injury. He's probably not going to play this time. And Tank Dell's injured. So definitely let them. I hope in this league they're not paying attention, but trading 2 guys that are injured and one has a role that is like not as good right now because Dan Campbell walked to the podium today and said, I've got a guy that I want to give the ball 20 to 25 times to. Gibbs is a change of pace guy. Hopefully they're buying the name that Gibbs is, and then they don't know that Dell is injured. But Adam Thielen, if you could get him for those 2, I would absolutely pull the trigger on that, especially in a PPR league. He's the guy that every year you look back on the draft and you're just like, damn it, why weren't we on him? Well, he's old. Well, he's he's a number 2 guy. All of those things are true, but he's such a savvy route runner, man. He's so good at what he's doing, and he's got a connection with Bryce Young. So I absolutely would.
Yeah, I took flyers on Thielen and all like my startups and redrafts for the
great for you, Brad.
They had no one else.
Don't hurt your arm patting yourself on the back, bud.
So I like what you said. You said you're gonna do Gibbs and Dell for Thielen.
I would do it. I mean, you got to hope that the manager that you're reaching out to is really high on Gibbs and thinks that he's hurt. Well, I mean, either that or he just thinks Gibbs is going to break out because he didn't practice again today with the hamstring. And then hopefully you're throwing in Dell like, hey, this is another receiver. And like, he's not really too worried about the injury. But I would do this 10 over 10 times because, man, unless something happens to David Montgomery, and even when Montgomery didn't play, they didn't even use Gibbs. But as long as Montgomery's there, it's going to be him, man. And how can you argue with the results, man? He's scoring for them, and he's running the ball very well, man. The Lions are good. Shout out to Don Burr. Let's go.
Shout out Don Burr. Shout out to the SDS. Shout out Spicy Squad. Appreciate all you guys, as always, for tapping in for State of the Franchise. Also staying till the end to see me get absolutely obliterated in our best ball league.
Yeah, but Matt's going to keep bringing that up as long as he's in first place. I guarantee you, like, if he slips, he won't be in here like, what's the best ball standings? It's like, all right, man, I see exactly what you're doing.
But make sure you're liked and subscribed to both channels. And we'll be back next Wednesday, same time, to do it all again. Hopefully 6-0. Feels good, Jason, to be a San Francisco 49er fan right now. And feels good to keep posting all this content for all you guys. Appreciate all the support. We're out of here for now. Appreciate you. Peace. That's Jason Aponte. I'm Brad Graham. We're going to get into it all right now.